sounding like God. Why? Because God moves in ways that he's used to. That's important. Y'all may want to write that down if you got some notes. Amen. God moves in ways that he's used to. Amen. I didn't say he moves in the same ways, because he never moves in the same way, and our minds can't fathom the way that God does things. But he moves in ways that he's used to. What am I talking about? The priests. Amen. They had to wear their garments, and I told you their garments had the jewels in it. The garments had the gold, and they had the bells, and they went to minister to the Lord. Amen. So that's very important. Amen. They were the ministers. They were the praisers. They were the ones that went in and they gave praise and worship to the Lord. Flashback, before time, heaven. Amen. Who was the chief praise and worship leader? Amen. Satan, or Lucifer. Amen. He was the chief praise and worship leader. And this is all going to tie in. So you remember what the priests had on? You remember what they were supposed to do. So if you read about Lucifer and they talk about how he looked. How did Lucifer look? He was beautiful. Amen. His body was encrusted with jewels and precious metals. And he had horns on his body. Not the devil horns, but he had horns like instrument horns. And when he opened his mouth to speak, it sounded like a choir and the organ all rolled into one. And whenever he moved, there was a sound. So can you imagine this beautiful angel with the jewels and the gold and the horns, and he opened his mouth and it sounded like the heavenly choir and the organ, and everywhere he moves, a sound was made. And the sound signified that the glory was coming. That means whenever he moved and opened his mouth, that all of heaven stopped what they was doing and they looked past Lucifer and they looked for the glory. Look at somebody say they looked for the glory. Amen. That's very important that they looked past him. That the sound that he made just signified that God was coming, that the glory was coming. And they began to get excited because they knew that whenever they heard the sound of Lucifer, they knew that God was coming and that the glory was coming. And the problem with Lucifer was that he forgot that he was supposed to signal the glory and reflect the glory. And he thought that he was the glory. And what happened is his sound changed. What happened was his sound changed. He forgot that I'm supposed to be signifying that the glory is coming. I'm supposed to be signifying that God is coming. But now my sound has changed and I've got it all mixed up. And now I think I'm the glory when all I was doing was reflecting the glory. And the same thing happened with the priest, that when they went in to minister, that was to signify that the glory was coming. But when the bell stopped ringing, that meant that they weren't in the right standing and they got out of place with God. And this is important because God is used to sound preceding his manifestation. I said God is used to sound preceding his manifestation. It happened with Lucifer. When Lucifer opened his mouth and made noise, and he opened his mouth and he sang and he moved, he made a sound, and that signified that the glory was coming. That signified that God was on his way. When the priest walked into the Holy of Holies and the bells began to ring, that signified that the glory was coming. And that's the same thing with us today when we come into the house of God. When we go out to and fro, when we open our mouths and we give God praise, when we open up our mouths and sound like God, that simply signifies that the glory is coming. Look at somebody and say, the glory is coming. Yeah. Tell somebody, I need y'all to open your mouth and tell somebody that when you open your mouth, the glory is coming. Now's not the time for us to close our mouths and keep our mouths closed, but now it's time to open our mouths